How's it going, guys? So today's, or actually this month's procedural material pack is really cool and more of a hint as to what you're going to be able to expect in the coming year. So this is my first beta launch here. Now Syncretic 3D has designed this Surface Imperfections pack. Now we're trying to turn this into a full-fledged product that will be publicly available, but you guys are going to be able to beta test the first iteration of it. Now currently two things that this doesn't have that the final version will have: bump, so this is just roughness, and it will also be EV compatible. This only works in cycles right now, so for those of you who like to use cycles or can use cycles, if you can use this and sort of give us feedback, this is a beta release exclusively for you guys. So give us feedback whenever you can. Send it to me in the Patreon message system. That's the best way to go. And then I will relay all that information to Syncretic as we work on this pack. All right, so the way to use this pack is you are going to download the file from Gumroad, unzip it, and you're going to have this. So you're going to see glass, metals, and plastic. Now this one right here is really special. When I'm done with my segment of this video, I'm going to play what Syncretic made. Now if you are just a beginner or you don't really want to use the really customizable version of this pack, you can use these plastics, metals, and glass. But if you really want to dig deep and really explore what's going to make this pack really special, watch the video that's going to come after this. It's going to be the same one. Just keep watching near the end, and Syncretic is going to break down how this part will work, and he'll show you how to do that. Now, this is a plastic, metals, and glass, and I'm going to go and explore that. So let's open up a scene. I just have one model in here and an HDRI lighting it. Now, real quick, when you are playing with these imperfections and you're having trouble seeing them, it is either due to how you edited the materials, or most of the time it's going to be due to your lighting. If you have extremely flat lighting, it's going to be hard to see these imperfections. So these are, using them in instances where imperfections are applicable. So let's go and append imperfections, and I'm just going to use the metal because that's my favorite. And you go to material, hit one, hit A, and click enter. And that appended them into your scene. And then you'll go to the materials section of Blender and you have all your materials. So I'm going to click render here so we can see it. So this is the beta launch. So two things that are not in the pack right now that will be is EV compatibility and bump. So it's only working on the roughness and it's only working in cycles. So first off, we're going to plug this one right here, and you can see we have some imperfections. Now the scaling of this is set to real world dimensions. So if you're using more abstract models or random things, you're going to want to sort of goof around with the scale and all that fun stuff. Like scale of 1, you get some really cool things. Now let's play around with how this works. So you're going to have roughness. So if you play with that, you're going to see some changes here. We do have contrast, and that's really going to give us more reflectivity in these. And if you bring that contrast back, it's a little bit, it's more rough here, and then you can play with the roughness in that case as well. You have subtlety, so that's going to smooth this out, so it makes the imperfections more subtle. All the way at 1, it's almost like it's perfectly flat, totally rough, and then you can play with the roughness here, and then you can play with it like that. So you have your subtlety, and you can bring it in and really play with this how you want it to look in terms of subtlety here. So now you have really just subtle imperfections. You can play with the seed, so if you don't like how it's looking, you can play with the random seed. You have scale here. And then max plays with some stuff as well. So now it's more rough, but you still have imperfections. It's incredibly detailed. And there's 10 of these for each pack. So, you have this, you can play with the contrast, goof around with the scale. There's some even fingerprints somewhere in here. But they're all titled, they're all named here. Let's see, let's play with 8. And then what we can do is, bring that scale down to 1, and then we can play with the roughness. Fractal, you can bring the fractal down. You get some really nice imperfections here. You can see the detail. Then I can play with contrast. Look at that, that's super cool. And then you can play up with the scale. So really, to get them to look really unique and really cool, you're gonna wanna play with these sliders and sort of figure out how they work. They all do crazy things depending on how you're using them. So, it's a crazy pack. Again, this is the beta. I want to get you guys' feedback on everything you're seeing here. We want this to be the best pack for you and for me and Syncretic. So feedback is why we're releasing this as a beta for you guys on Patreon. So I hope you liked this. Again, send us feedback and have fun.
Hey everybody, Syncretic 3D here, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to use the imperfection nodes in this month's package. So in the package, you will receive 3 different shaders. We have metal, we have glass, we have plastic, and then we also have the nodes. All the nodes that will make up your imperfection maps. We have markings with a lot of different features on it. We have noise with different outputs. Very noisy blocks. Change the count of blocks. Contrast. How fractally it is. Noisy points. Change the count. The fractal amount. And so on. We have fingerprints, very useful. We have scratches. We have the dirt map node, which will allow us to tweak the imperfection maps over here. And then we have the mask bump, which will allow us to use a texture to add bump to the surface. And then we have displacement, which will allow us to change the geometry with these textures. Okay. So, let's get started by modifying one of these shaders. Let's modify the plastic shader here. Okay, let's hide the glass, hide the metal, hide the nodes. Okay, let's add the markings node. So that here, change the scale, let's do 1 or 3. We can change the seed too, which gives us different iterations of the same texture. Let's do 3 for the seed. Change the fractal amount. And let's combine that with my fingerprints node. Change the count here. It mixes together with the 5th output. Let's use linear light. Change the count here. Change the fractal amount here. And change the stretching here. Okay. Let's plug that into a direct map node. Plug it into the mask. Plug the mask into the roughness here. And the max into the max right here. We can make it mix this together instead. It's better. We can change the contrast here and the offset for the contrast. And change how subtle it is. Change the subtlety here. Change the roughness here. That's more subtle for textures. And we can also use the mask bump right here. Put the color output from the mix RGB into the mask right here for the masking here. Take away smooth, we don't need that on. Plug it into the normal here. Make sure to use the scale right here. Very micro bump. Let's change the normal roughness here and dial this back. Let's increase the bump scale. Let's do something like 5. Let's just use the fingerprints for the bump instead. Change the count here. Make this 1 instead. That looks pretty good. We can smooth out the texture here. Make it more pointy. Increase the scale of the bump. Let's do 2. We'll change the count here as well. And of course we have more textures like noisy blocks. Change the scale here, let's do 20. Change the count. Change how fractally it is. How smooth it is. How much contrast it has, etc. Let's mix that with the one down here. Like so. Okay, how this looks. More contrast here. Looking pretty good. All right, that's how you use the nodes in the package. And if you want to add your own scenes, all you have to do is press File, Append, select the package, Introduction Nodes Patreon, select Scene, Fake User, Append, and now you can add the new nodes, like so.